Good evening. I'd like to call the Alton Board of Selectmen's Workshop, May 14th, 2020, to order at 5:30 p.m. Also to read until further notice to keep our members and staff safe and to comply with the RSA 91-A, the state of emergency and governor's orders restrictions on public gatherings. The Town of Alton is moving from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, audio only, visit our website, www.alton.nh.gov, for telephone access and remote access instructions listed under news and announcements on the homepage, or telephone the Selectmen's office, 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229, between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for the dial-in code and meeting ID for each Selectmen's meeting. There continues to be no public input at this time. If you wish to have something read into the record, please call the Selectmen's office at 875-2113 or email the Selectmen at selectmen@alton.nh.gov or mail a letter to the Board of Selectmen at P.O. Box 659, Alton, New Hampshire 03809. Your comments, questions, or concerns will be read at the next available meeting and answered at that meeting or the next available meeting. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, we're going to reconvene. Now we're going on number 2, meeting purpose, Shibley's dock discussion. So do we have Josh with us tonight on the phone? Not Josh, or Rob.
We do, and David Shibley.
And David Shibley's on the phone, and we have Attorney Sestler here.
I don't have Rob on quite yet.
I don't have Rob on quite yet. Okay. So, gentlemen, the meaning of this is to go over the dock that was discussed at town budget season and also at the town deliberative session and town meeting vote. As you know, the article to fix down there and along the side was defeated. For the purpose of this, the dock is in disrepair and it's been roped off. We have a set of town stairs to go down to it. The meeting tonight is to discuss the ownership of that dock. So we've asked the town attorney to come in and town assessor to phone in to give us their legal opinions on the assessment and on all the paperwork. And Jim has read the file and also his legal opinion, who has ownership of that dock, if it's the town or if it's Mr. Shibley at Shibley's by the pier. So at this time, I guess I'll look at Jim before we start talking, ask him his legal opinion as to this area.
Looking at all the records that have been compiled, and actually Rob and Liz have done a great job of going all the way back to first plan in 1960 of the old Victoria Pier, Shibley's now. And we've gone through all the records. I've looked at it. I've been involved in some of the leases over the years. Never really questioned, nobody's ever questioned the extent of what was down there. But everything that I've seen would indicate to me that Victoria Pier, the restaurant itself, the building, I'll call it the deck off the building on the water side, the small dock that extends down towards the boat ramp, the boat launch area, and the dock on the, I guess it'd be on the southerly side, on the other side, the one where we went to town meeting on, are owned by what's now Mr. Shibley. They are owned by the Shibleys. It's part of the lease. There's the predominance of the evidence would indicate that. There's the old plan from 1960 that shows that somewhat, but some of the deeds and some of the transactions and some of the plans and some of the applications to for shoreline improvements all indicate that the Shibleys owned it and control it. And it's part of their leasehold. If the lease were to terminate, they can remove the property, including the building. If they don't remove it, then it becomes the town's at that point, because it's attached to town land. No question that the town owns the land, but we don't own the improvements on it.
We have the finger docks on each side of that front pier against the wall.
Those two appear, all the records appear that those belong to Shibley.
He has both docks on each side, plus the front pier.
I call the front the deck. I think it's an eating deck now.
Yeah.
The deck in the front.
Yeah.
Including the dock alongside where the boat ramp is.
Yes, just set down the boat ramp.
Mm-hmm.
and then on the other side, the one we looked at,
The one that we looked at.
the ones in disrepair.
Yes.
He owns those, how do we give him a 10-foot curvature on it?
I don't know where the 10-foot curtilage comes from. It all goes back, the original leases go back to an assessment that George Ballister did that apparently we can't find. There would have been a sketch that would have shown everything he did, but everything that's in the early records indicate that those docks are his. He applied for the improvements to them. The plans all show that they're his. I don't know that we've ever exercised jurisdiction over them, but to my knowledge, we haven't. They're all part of the restaurant. There is. They're not part of the dock system, city docks, the town docking system.
Wait a minute, the finger dock by the boat ramp, we put in.
Pardon me?
We put in the finger by the boat ramp for people launching their boats. The town put that in.
When did we do that, Virgil?
90s?
That dock, the dock I'm talking about, it's been there since the 60s.
That's on the left of the restaurant, or on the right of the restaurant. If you're looking right at the bottom of the boat ramp, we put a finger in there against the
That's
wall.
actually,
I'm not talking about the finger, I'm talking about the one that runs along the wall back to the restaurant.
Well, that finger runs right up to his deck,
no, it doesn't attach.
doesn't?
No.
Quite a do. It's just the right side, it's just the right side of the restaurant.
Can I come over and just give you this? Well, it's in the back of your.
I've got it.
No, the very last map, this one right here.
That's really not,
That's the 1960 map.
I wouldn't consider that a finger dock. That is on shore. That was a wharf that is attached to the shore, to the wall.
They're showing this, they're showing it on that map, the boat ramp, and there's the finger.
But that runs parallel with the shoreline, doesn't go out.
Right.
A finger
calling
would
the
go
fingers?
out. This is running parallel. It's a walkway.
It's a walkway.
Well,
And then you can,
we put it in and repaired it for when they were launching the boat.
Virgil, there's been a lot of gray area over the years about this. You know, Mr. Shibley was on the Board of Selectmen at periods of time. I don't know what happened. I don't know who did what. But all the records would indicate, the predominance of the evidence would be that the docks that we're talking about, whether you want to call them finger piers or piers, are part of Victoria Pier going all the way back to 1960. You know, that things happened over the years that I can't explain. You know, we said earlier on that it was gray. Well, to some extent, there are things that are gray, but the predominance of all of the evidence would be, I think, if it were to go to court, would be that Shibley owns those docks. They've always been shown by him when he's done improvements. There's some improvements done where they showed that, the engineering plans show that, they're further in the packet here. You know, you're asking me to give my opinion, that's my opinion. That's what I believe.
in 2001, Pete Shibley applied for DES, shoreline land protection, to pull a permit to do work on the same dock that was in question.
Yeah.
And he pulled a permit, I think it was 2001, for that, and did the necessary repairs with that.
There's another plan further on that was done by Winnipesaukee Marine Construction, I believe, for the town in Shibley's that shows it is that the dock we're considering, not the other side, but the one we're talking about, is part of the restaurant property. Not property, but part of the restaurant lease.
Right, right. And he leased on the other side, actually, the land goes up to the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Which was, because everyone in town always thought that you came down the boat ramp and that pier right there was to put a boat while you moved your boat.
In town, dealing with towns, sometimes it's really hard we can't go back to 1960, 1970 and get really good records. At least in this town, sometimes the records don't exist, sometimes they're lost, sometimes we can't find them, sometimes we didn't document things well. Hopefully things are being done better, you know, as time goes on, we get more modern, but we've got what we've got. That's my.
Oh, I understand that.
Mr. Chairman, when you get a moment, I'd like to have the floor.
Anything else you can add to this or not?
No, you know, when we talked to Mr. Shibley, there's a lot of confusion about what happened when Paul and I and Liz talked to him. We were down there looking at, I wanted to see the dock. I've been into the restaurant once, I think, in my whole career. I wanted to go down and look at the dock to see what we were talking about. And as we were talking about it, we basically, you know, he would be willing to renegotiate the lease and give up that dock if we want to take it over. That's what the discussion is.
So two is, secondly, for us to renegotiate the lease, and if the Board of Selectmen approve it, it would have to go before town meeting to approve that lease,
And it's gonna be long-term lease, yes.
long-term lease. So what do you consider long-term lease? 5 years, 10 years?
Anything over 5 years.
Anything over 5 years?
Didn't his lease start at like 16 or 17 years?
Yeah, but I want to stop at that point there and ask Mr. Holt to ask for a question first.
Just to reconfirm what Jim has told us today, I contacted a lawyer that works for a real estate law firm. It's a big law firm, many lawyers. I gave that person my paperwork that I've given all the selectmen. Thanks to girls in the office, they made it up. And this person did not know if I wanted an opinion of who owned this dock. And this person knew I was a selectman, figuring I was trying to prove that the town owned the dock. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was trying to prove who did own the dock. Or I wanted to find out who did own the dock, and I've said that before. This person came back after reviewing it, 4 days, and said to me, Bob, I got bad news for you. I said, what do you mean? Everything you've given me, which is basically what Liz had in this book here, tells me that Shibley's Restaurant owns the dock. So there's two lawyer opinions. My question now is, what do we do? In reading the lease, it specifically states in there, it's Shibley's Restaurant's responsibility to maintain. That, and right now, I don't think the town is financially in any kind of a situation where in the next 2 years, we should even be thinking about it, expanding our docks down there with this coronavirus and so forth, with what's our status with tax revenues. Our revenues are down already. We've seen that. This isn't going to get any better, my opinion. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a big politician, but my opinion from here is Shibley should repair that dock. And Shibley's repaired that dock once, and in my records here, 1980, I believe it was, another owner repaired that dock also. So the lease is the lease, and the lease spells it out.
Mr. Lorchelle.
Right from the get-go, it was a concern of mine with the dock itself. And that was all I had intended to do when I pulled everyone together, was to find out true ownership. Proof is in the pudding. We've been looking at the files. We've been looking at the files. It does certainly, he's been paying taxes on it. It does certainly look like that he owns the docks that are surrounding Shibley's. But since from the very beginning, I just wanted to find out so that we could do necessary repairs, whether Mr. Shibley or the town, or to add on to the docks to add more dock space. That was right from the beginning. I feel as though that if we have to wait, that's fine. There still will have to be some repairs. I want to know what Mr. Shibley wants to do at this point. If he'd be interested in knowing to renegotiate the lease or to drop the whole thing completely. And I think that's where we need to go with this.
Well, can I just interject one thing here? If we renegotiate the lease and the town, then the owner, the dock, that's the way the renegotiation goes. Then it's our responsibility to make it safe, correct it, and we have to spend the money to do it. Right now, it's his responsibility, so before we take over that lease, we need to know.
Right.
Oh, I don't want to tell you what you need to know, but you should know if we have the funds to be able to repair it before we agree to take it over. So I think you have to make that clear first.
Yes.
Before we renegotiate the lease and take it over. And that's sort of what we were shooting at the town meeting this year.
Yes.
And the townsfolk don't want to do that at this point.
All set, Paul?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Whitman?
I'm just grateful that all of this information was turned up. You gentlemen looked into it. Because let's say the Warren article had passed, the town would have paid to repair his dock.
Well, Mr. Shibley was willing to, Mr. Shibley is not, this is not adverse to Mr. Shibley. He was willing to do that.
Oh, I realize that.
So the one article had passed, we would have probably renegotiated the lease and we would have ended up owning it because we weren't sure even when we were on the dock. We weren't sure who
Oh,
owned it.
yeah, I don't think Mr. Shibley was trying to demand that.
Absolutely not. It's just the opposite.
No, but even Mr. Shipley said that he only
Oh, wait
has
a
10
minute,
feet of dock.
Let's just go one at a time.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Yeah,
Virgil? No.
well done,
Well, Phil had the floor. You can have the floor next, Paul had the floor before.
well done.
Okay, do we have Rob on the phone yet?
Yes.
Hi, Rob, Reuben Wentworth here. You with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, here I am. They unmuted me.
All right. So you heard what Mr. Sessler said. You concur with Mr. Sessler, I take it?
I do?
Okay. All right, so I guess what the Board of Selectmen knows, do we have Mr. Shibley online still? Hi,
Yes,
David.
hi, Reuben, I'm here.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've heard the town attorney talk about the situation we have down there, and we all have as a town and as the owner of the pier.
Yes, yep.
So I guess the board has to decide tonight, and you've been working with us greatly right along and willing to give up the dock. But right now, the town at this point has this talk of renegotiating the lease, and I think you talked about that with Mr. Rochelle anyways before, and Liz, possibly doing it. But
Right.
as it all comes out down with all the paperwork going back to your father and before your dad, that all the docks around there are actually the property of the, as also known as Victoria Pier and Shibley's by the pier now. So
Right.
even the docks that by the ramp going down where folks put their boat and tie up while they're moving their cars actually is yours and not the town's, according to a
Right.
1960 figure.
Okay.
document. So I guess what we need to do is discuss at this time how the town's going to proceed and how you want to proceed, because right now you're responsible for any maintenance and repairs the way everything is written and before us.
Right, okay, right. Would the town consider selling me the land that their building is on?
Have to go in front of the town meeting.
That would have to go before the town meeting, Dave. I know me and your dad had this conversation years ago. I was against the land where the pier was, but I was for the ice cream stand, which I helped you guys acquire the land at the ice cream stand. I spoke at the town meeting that year. Still not
Right.
quite sure if I want to go that way with the waterfront property though.
I'm sorry, say it again, Reuben, please.
I'm not so sure I'd be that favorable as I was to the ice cream stand being on the waterfront. But I can't answer for the rest of my board, so I'll let them answer that question to you. I'll call on Virgil first.
I think it's not up to us, it's up to the townspeople.
It's up to the town, but it's gonna take our recommendation, yay or nay.
I'd have to do a lot of thinking on that one.
Okay?
I would have to think a lot.
Did you hear Virgil, David?
I did, yes, I did, Reuben.
Okay, Phil?
At this point, I would be in favor of selling the land. It seems to me that, like, if we renegotiated the lease, that would have to go before the town people as well, right?
For a long-term lease, yes.
Yeah,
For anything over 5 years.
and again, I agree with other members of the board right now, considering the possible financial situation of the town due to the current pandemic. I don't think it's time to be renegotiating a lease at this time. How much longer does this lease go?
2024.
So we've got a couple of years to think about this as far as changing the terms of the lease, if we want to, and presenting it to the townspeople.
Well, it'll be probably next year, because they come in early.
You know, I think we
In case they gotta borrow money.
we renegotiate 2 years in advance, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
something like that.
Okay, so basically, we as a board would probably have to decide whether we would recommend that to the taxpayers or not,
Yeah.
and then give it to them at the town meeting.
Yeah, and that will come up probably next year.
Right.
Anything else? Paul?
Dave, I don't think I would be in favor of the town selling for the purpose, my intent from the beginning was to add to town docking and to make it so that we had a little bit more space for the townspeople and visitors to add on to that. So I think my intent was to help the bay and the restaurants to adding more dock space so that we could accommodate more people. And my main concern was actually, which is above and beyond this, which is handicap ADA compliance. And actually having a dedicated dock for handicap accessibility, which we do not have now. That was the whole intent to start with. So in my opinion, I don't think the town's best interest would be to sell the shorefront property.
Okay, all right.
I got one, Dave, I got one more selectman I'd like to go through first, so before I get back to you.
Yes, this is
Okay,
Paul Holt, Dave. I've never met you. I've heard a lot about you. I've eaten in your restaurant. I would always entertain any kind of purchase if you're interested. I might not agree with it, or I might not vote for it, but I think as a board member, I would always entertain any kind of revenue anybody wanted to generate for the town of Alton.
Anything else, Bob? Dave, I'll give you the floor now if you'd like.
Well, just on the idea of making the purchase for the land, our longevity of being there going on 28 years, and we have been getting 10-year leases, which will be coming up shortly, that I'll be asking for again. In fact, I'd actually mentioned I was going to see if I could go longer. I have a next generation coming along, and we would like to be there as part of the Bay, a part of the town of Alton, for a long time to come. And so with that, I know that purchase and then that responsibility for repairing the dock would also fall on my shoulders. But if it was something that we could, if it was a possibility to work on, I would like to explore that. But I would like, if the board is going to be open-minded about it and to try to work forward. If the board is really opposed to it, then, we'll have to go to Plan B, and we'll have to work on how we handle moving the dock over to the town, if that's going to be the avenue.
Okay. You folks all understood what Dave was saying there, right?
Yes.
So the other question I got for the town attorney, though, at this point, David.
Yes.
We have a set of stairs that go down to that dock that is not part
Right,
of
yes.
this diagram, which is town-owned stairs going into, I guess I would say at this point, private property.
Right.
So I guess I gotta ask the town attorney how this works with town stairs, the public right-of-way going on the public property. Then Jim's
Okay.
kind of grinning a little bit there, and
This is one of those gray areas, Ruben. You look at some of the plans that we have in there, and I'm not sure who drew them all in. They show the stairs on that deck going down to it.
They're going by that, Jim. Go by the taxing, and it's got a 10-foot curtilage around it.
I understand, Ruben. Virgil, it's not crystal clear.
I know.
Regardless of the evidence is
Never is here.
clearly, we wouldn't be here tonight. I don't have a good answer for you, Ruben, on that. I don't know how they got built. I don't know when they were built.
Since the beginning.
They look like they've been there for a long time. And
the research that I could be told, that was verbal, that Fred Perkins put them in when they built the stone wall coming down along the lake, but there's no paperwork of that. Fred Perkins built all the stone walls along the whole length of the lake there. So, but my
Reuben?
question is, yes, sir.
May I say something?
Yes, David, go ahead.
If we moved ahead with a possible purchase of the land and such, couldn't an easement be written into the deed that the town would always have the stairs access to that dock?
That is a possibility, yes. Chairman? Yes, Mr. Holt?
Does that set of stairs, I'm not that familiar with it physically, does that connect the wood dock?
No, sir. You have to step from the step to the wood dock.
That's part of the land, and the land is owned by the town.
Right.
No arguing this.
No.
So the stairs, you could have, like I said one night, we could have 3 sets of stairs going down. But if it's not hooked to the dock, what's that for?
Well, what I'm trying to get at, the town has a liability for a set of stairs there going onto a private dock. You have customers, the Shivleys, if they get off that dock, step on those stairs, trips and falls, they try to sue him, which he in turn sues the town, and joins us in a lawsuit. We are giving public access from town property on the private property, which is not allowed. So those stairs would either have to be blocked off, or an agreement would have to be raised with the Shivleys to allow public access to that dock, and then they get held harmless if anything ever happens, I would think. But I'm not a lawyer, I'd have to look at our town attorney. But I don't know how the town could give public access to private property.
Well, we have a sidewalk that goes into the parking lots that go into the restaurant. We give them access to. It's not much different from that. I don't know how we wouldn't develop those stairs now, doing it on that area, Reuben.
Right.
How they came to be, I really don't know. You know, I know there's no early deeds to the old Victoria Pier because it seems to predate 1966, and there was no deeds to these buildings back then. So did the steps go back then? I really don't know. But I don't think the fact that the stairs there violates anything because it's no different than our sidewalk allowing access into the restaurant. But I certainly wouldn't build new steps. Steps appear to be in good shape though.
They're in good shape.
So I'm not worried about and we have our liability for those steps. Okay. Somebody slips and falls on those, we're covered with that.
My main thing is whether Mr. A good faith owner or neighbor would allow to keep having public access to those docks to his dock. One way or another, I'm not saying he would or wouldn't. I'm just looking for that aspect. And I guess, David, to go back to one of your questions, if I wasn't, which I said I can't answer you 100%, I would even consider selling that land. I would entertain a longer lease though, up to 15 years.
Okay.
And then possibly even 20, but I'd have to, when we sat down to negotiate, I'd have to do that at that time. Because I know with the banking is, when you want to go for financial help or financial aid, they look for longer terms of leases. So the investment.
Right, yes, that's right.
I remember having that conversation with Gary years ago when I was the selectman, that they were looking for a longer lease when it came to the septic system because the 5-year lease just didn't do it for them. So,
Right, yes, that's right, yeah. They won't go beyond the length of the lease, the banks.
Right, and I think it's a great thing that the younger, his daughter or son, whoever it is.
They want to keep it going.
Yeah, gonna keep it going.
I think a 20-year,
And a great restaurant.
would be a good thing to do.
well, let's not commit ourselves to it.
No, but I think,
If I could interject one thing, the only thing I would say from a legal standpoint of negotiating a longer lease is we have a long track record with the owners of the Victoria Pier and Shibley's in the Pier of,
Yes,
they've been long
28
tenants.
years, yes.
And they've been great.
And we've not really had any, this isn't a problem that, he has refused to repair the dock, we're trying to figure out who's gonna repair it. But so he's been a good tenant from everything I've seen in the years I've been here.
And it's,
We've been lucky.
it's a situation we find ourselves in, both parties in, and we're trying to figure out a solution to it. So,
Right.
Dave, I guess at this time, the way I'm hearing from the board, legal opinion, there's not much we can do to the dock at this point in time. Hopefully, possibly some way, you folks can find a way just to repair the decking boards or something. And we can move on from there, and when we start to sit down and negotiate the lease, the new lease, we can come up with an alternative plan for us. And you.
Okay, Okay.
Does that sound fair?
yes, yes. Yes, Ruben.
Great. Well, it was great having you with us tonight. I think Mr. Sessa has one more thing he wanted to say.
I don't want to speak for code enforcement, Dave, but having looked at that dock when we were down there that day and watched those people try to tie up their boat to go into the restaurant, you're going to need to fix that dock. Or John Devers may be out there and shut it down because
It already has.
it's getting to the point where it's almost unsafe.
We got signs on it now, it's closed.
Okay.
John did that.
Dave, all right. Paul? Dave, this is Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Is it something that you could consider, talking, with DES and see if you can get the permit to necessarily, pick that up and just at least straighten it and redo that crib in the middle?
I can start the process to look into what it would be. I can contact some of the marine construction companies and see what I'm looking at.
Okay. Because right now.
So I will do. Right. So I'll do that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Does anybody from the board or the town administrator have anything to say before we let Dave go? David, I want to thank you for joining us tonight and having patience with us and the board and trying to work to a solution. And we look forward to sitting down with you in another year to start renegotiating your lease.
All right, Ruben. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to the board. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll get it all figured out.
All right, good luck to you this summer.
Good night.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Rob, are you still there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask if you can still hear me.
Yes, we can. I guess
Okay.
the board has come to a conclusion. So I guess we can let you go and have a good night and enjoy your dinner.
May I offer one piece of input? This is a work session, correct?
Yes, sir.
May I offer one piece of consideration? Well, 3 items that I took notes on during this that I think you should consider. At no point during any of my research of this was potential sale of the property brought into this. I think the board needs to consider very carefully that the control of that level of waterfront is, one, extremely valuable. Waterfront property works on a supply and demand basis, and they're not making any more water frontage. Number 2, the slippery slope aspect of this is that if you do transfer property along the waterfront to one property owner, you are guaranteed to be petitioned for more. The value of waterfront is such that if you transfer one entity, you're gonna get asked for more, and it's gonna unravel. And 3, the level of control of that amount of frontage on Lake Winnipesaukee is second only to the Atlantic Ocean. The town of Alton is in a very powerful position in controlling that land, and my honest opinion is that you should not be considering transferring any of that property without very, very careful consideration.
No, I appreciate that, Rob. We'll take that on the good heart and consideration.
Thank you.
We do value your professional opinion on that. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you. It's just one of the things, because that hadn't been part of the discussion before, and it raised my eyebrows very quickly.
Okay, sir. Appreciate it. Does any of you gentlemen have any questions or concerns for Rob? Well, Rob, we'll let you go and have a good evening. We'll see you at work tomorrow.
Thank you very much, guys. Good to talk to you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
At this time, gentlemen, we'll move on to other business as deemed necessary. I do have one item. Early this week, I mentioned it to Virgil. Virgil went down and looked, but I had Ken Robbins go down and look. Right at Levy Park Trustee, just after you go over the knoll by Tom Loyne's house, if you know where Tom Loyne lives. Just as you start over that crest, you go down. I went by the other day and I noticed white sand by a big bull pine that was there. So I asked Ken to go down and look at it. Ken went over and looked at it. The big bull pine is totally rotted from underneath. And the only thing that's left is the 2 root systems on the side of it. They contacted the DOT. DOT went down and looked at it, they said, yeah, that tree's in our right of way, we'll get it taken care of. But upon inspection of that, with Mr. Roberts, there was 2 other trees that were found rotted and hollowed in the middle, 2 pines right on the edge of the bank. The one that I'm talking about, you can see where it hasn't started to move. So there's 3 trees down there. The state has declined to take 2 down because they feel it's out of the right of way. So that would come underneath the trustees of the Levy Park. Talking with Jonathan Downing, Nancy Downing, they contacted Liz. She sent an email, phone call down to Jonathan. During the pandemic, they're not able to meet because of the meetings the way we have them right now, the executive orders. So Jonathan had sent me a letter, and I gave it to Liz. You all have it at your seat now. Where they cannot meet, they cannot discuss this. They don't have much in funds, and I think Liz this afternoon was going to see exactly how much they had in funds to take down those trees. There was a point of saying roughly $8,000. I don't know if that's right or not, Liz. But the situation we have down there is tragic. Those trees come down across Route 11-1, it will close the roads down. It will take out some homes, and it could have impact on life. Brought it before the EMT meeting this morning, just to bring them up to this afternoon, to bring them up to date on it. It didn't really have to go with the COVID pandemic that's going on right now, but I wanted to bring it to them, and they're recommending it to bring it to us to have this situation taken care of. I don't know if Liz found out how much money the trustees of Levy Park has, or she was able to.
Not yet. Being one.
She's working on that, but we can't wait to find out how much money they have or for them to have a meeting, I feel we need to find it within our budget to have those trees taken down. What we're hoping was at the emergency management meeting, that if Liz contacted the state, maybe when the state has their person go in, they take also our 2 trees down. Maybe it could be a better deal for the town. But you are at least looking at $1,500 per tree down.
Oh, more than that.
So,
It better be 3,500.
well, I don't know. I'm estimating.
These particular, I'm sorry, if I may, just be clear on the trees. This is, if you were heading towards town, is it just before you get to Tom Glenn's?
Halfway up that little road.
Halfway up the hill?
You'll see the white
where the water spigot is and his property. You're on the top of those trees right there.
You can't miss the white safe.
There's a big white sand patch right in the base of the first tree.
Okay.
Right at the base of it.
I noticed it on Monday morning, got a hold, Virgil came down, asked me to go down and look, and then I got a hold of Kenny, go in him and have a look. But with the winds we've had, it's surprising that one of them haven't come down.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Holt.
Ken, it's nothing the town can do, right? I mean, we can't cut that down. Okay, we don't have these trees. Okay. The state says it's gonna take 1 down. What are they gonna do? They're gonna hire that out?
They will have to hire it,
I'm sure they'll bring a crane in.
What I do is, what I think we should do is get together with the state. We gotta take them down. That's not an issue. Do it. But get together with the state. If they're gonna hire a firm.
Well, that's what was talked about today, but I had to bring it before the board here because it's gonna have to come out of the budget somewhere. And I had to bring it before you before Liz could move on and have it taken down.
General
She is gonna call the state. That was the direction this afternoon, call the state, see if we can work together to have them all taken down at one time. So we're not shutting the road down twice to do it.
Who's going to be responsible for calling for an estimate from an arborist? Would it be?
Liz is gonna try to get a hold of the state. The state's gonna get their crew, and they have people out there that's already given bids on trees that they can just call and have come in. So hopefully we can call tomorrow, we can find out, hopefully from the state, who they're gonna get. Maybe we can get a price on it.
Maybe get a better price because if you're taking down all 3, there's 3 trees there, and the state is taking out 1. We need to see if we can work a deal.
General government must have a lot of budget in their budget. So
No.
I'm sure throughout the whole town's budget, there's gonna have to come out of a line item, which will probably be overexpended. But throughout the whole town budget will be there, but it's not even so much as it's the cost of life that it could take.
Big time.
There's no argument, Mr. Chairman. It has to be done.
Those are tall enough.
Right.
Yeah, those are tall
So
enough
I
to
need
go
a
across the road
motion
until
to
the
that,
house.
to allow Liz to work with the state of New Hampshire to get these 2 trees done. So, motion has been made by Reuben Wentworth to have Town Administrator Liz Dion work with the state and getting the 2 trees down by Levy Park, that the state will be taking 1 down. seconded by Paula Rochelle. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes, but are we gonna, get a copy of the bid before we,
We're not gonna do a bid, we just need to
Oh.
get it done.
My first is we get it done. It needs to get done instead of going through a bid process.
it does?
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. The vote is in the affirmative.
We do have a contract, we, the town, have a contract with the tree removal company, I think it's Bartlett, that's what Ken said.
Okay.
They,
Well, we can find out from them too in the meantime, but I think it should be left up to Mr. Roberts and Liz to get this job done and doesn't
Yes.
bring it back and forth.
Yep. Get it done right away,
Price.
as soon as
If
possible.
we get a price from Bartlett, we might get a better price than the state and let their tree come on us.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, at this point, that is all I have for other business. Administrator, do you have anything for other business?
Just a non-public session.
Mr. Chairman, I had one little thing, nothing serious.
Sir?
Did you approve the agenda?
You know, we just got this, accounts payable manifest. I go over it, and I'm not familiar with doing it this way. And with the pandemic, I'm used to, I don't know why we can't get this in a box, weekly, with all the bills in it. Because like I looked at this Atlantic Recycling Equipment Service, $2,078. I have no idea what that's for.
Actually, you can go in and ask Laura. There used to be a black, when I was a selectman years ago, we called it the black book.
Yeah, but I can't go in here anymore, Mr. Chairman. The building's closed all day.
But you do come in during the emergency management meetings.
Yes.
You can call Liz, ask if you can come up and sit inside the room here, if they can get the bills out for you to ask for. To make copies of all those bills that you're asking for.
No, I'm not asking for copies. You have the original bills. This is done how often?
Once a month. Once a week.
Every
Every week we get a
Every
bill.
week. Right. So what you do is you just put the bills there. They go through them, you get your 3 signatures or more, then you take everything out and you file the bills. It's very simple.
Oh, you're saying put them in a box in here?
Put them in with this at the same time for review.
Or for here, when you bring it out. And you'll have everything here. I can look up something and see what, of course, I might have to go through them a little, but I've done this for years and I review every one of these. And if I get a question in the back of my head, and it's quite often, quite a bit of them, I want to know what it's for. And right now, I've been signing these things blank, and I'm not in favor of that.
All right, you have to bring it up, and we'll have to bring that up at the next meeting then.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you
Well, we
can.
can at the next meeting. It would be a week from this coming Monday because the agenda's already been done.
I'll see if it's.
You can add it under old business.
Liz will go in and talk with Laura about it.
He can add it under old business anyway.
Only if it's a board consensus.
Yeah.
If
But he-
somebody else wants to do it, why?
But he can add it at the next meeting, right under
Well,
old
we're
business,
trying,
new business.
remember, we're gonna try not to amend the agendas. That's the last meeting to keep our meeting short.
Well, then put more on it.
Urgent things and
Yep.
emergencies.
Trying to keep them.
That's all right, there's no big hurry.
Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to ask if, Liz, do we have Harmony Park on the agenda for Monday? Because I haven't looked at it yet.
The retaining,
I haven't even looked at it.
the retaining wall, yeah.
The retaining wall, so we can discuss that and move forward, because summer's here and it's coming up and we need to do some things, so
There'll be more
Yeah,
information.
yes,
than that.
I'd like to go over that.
Levy plan.
Okay, gentlemen, I'd like to go at this point, stop other business as deemed necessary, and move on to non-public session, RSA-A:3, paragraph 2 in E. Second by Mr. Holt. I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman. Yes. Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. The vote is in the affirmative. We are now in non-public session.